Okay, so what we did Thursday is we learned how to simplify a logarithm. In other words, take several logs strung together and compress them into one. Today we're going to learn the opposite. We're going to learn how to expand a logarithm. In other words, we're going to start with 1, and we're going to end up with more than 1. Ignore 3a and 3b for now. We will get to them later. Okay, so basically we're going to use the 3 properties of logarithms. Also, you have to remember that when we reach a number that we can simplify, we're going to simplify it. And you'll see what that means actually when we get to problem number 2. Okay, problem number 1 is very straightforward. What property of math do I use, not property of math, what property of logarithms do I use here? I've only got 3. I got power, quotient, and product.
Can you just explain what are you trying to
Expand this. I'm trying to turn it
So-
into more than one logarithm.
do?
The quotient property. Remember, there's only one that it has division in it, and that's the quotient property. So I use my quotient property to turn division into subtraction.
Wait, why does it say 3a?
I told you to ignore that for now.
Oh. Oh. Oh, sorry. I had to get a bill.
Get a bell. In heart. Oh. Okay, now, does anybody notice anything about what I can do next? Well, I would say clearly it has nothing to do here. But what mathematical operation is this? 4 and x. What am I doing here?
Multiplying.
Multiplying. So I can break that apart by using which of the 3 properties?
Quotient. No, the one right above. Product. Well, I don't know.
Okay.
The one.
Quotient property is taking subtraction and turning into division, or like we did here, taking division and turning it into subtraction. Which of the 3 properties deals with multiplication? The product property. So log of 4x becomes log of 4 plus log of x.
What is the topics related with the ones that are main topic?
Say that again?
That one. You want to get up?
I want you to get, no, I want you to just explain to me what you just said.
That one that has no the other, yeah.
Don't worry about these. This has nothing to do with this problem.
I read it, but
I told you to.
You said it like 3 times.
I did say I said ignore these until the next problem.
I have a question.
Okay.
It shows that when you separate it out, like the definition, the log bm plus log bn, what does the m and the n stand
Those would be numbers.
for? Okay.
Or they would be values.
Okay.
In this case, it's 4 and x.
Okay. And then when you like separate it, why does the base 4 only go with the first one and not the first and the second?
First, understand that these are all base 10.
Oh, right.
Because there's no base here, it's base 10.
Oh, okay. So those aren't okay. It's not the base, it's the.
No, I call it the value. I don't know what, I forget what the book, we first set up the logarithm.
It's the answer.
Answer is what I called it, value. Okay, actually, this is it. We're done with this one. There's nothing else that we can do to either expand it or simplify it. So this one's finished. Okay, now let's take a look at this one. This one is more complicated.
No, I'm not good.
Is it?
No.
People you had sarcastic people. You don't seem like a sarcastic person.
Yeah.
I'm not sarcastic. I'm so
Really?
excited. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Okay.
See.
Okay, now, first step here,
Use quotient.
quotient property is correct. So again, what the quotient property does is it turns division into subtraction. If you look at your notes, remember the operation goes in both directions. If you're simplifying, you take subtraction and turn it into division. If you're expanding, you take division and you turn it into subtraction. Okay, what do you think we should do next?
Product?
Where do you see multiplication?
Use power.
What, and use the power property to do what? We're not getting rid of it. We are moving it.
Yeah.
So we're going to use the power property, take the exponent and move it.
And then you use the product.
Again, where we want to use the product property.
Wait, so we're moving
The exponent moves to the front of the, remember, logarithms are like exponents. The operations that we do to logarithms are the same as the operations that we do to exponents. When we divide exponents, what do we do to the exponents? We subtract them. When we multiply, what do we do to the exponents? You add them. And when you have an exponent raised to another power, what do you do then? If I have x to the second power raised to the third power, I multiply them. If you wanted to write this as a logarithm, you could actually say that this is 3 times x to the second, x to the second times x to the second times x to the second. Now we don't learn it that way, but that's how you might want to view it when we're talking about logarithms. So what I can do is I can take x to the 4th power, and I turn it into 4 times this, log 9 of x. Okay, now remember I talked about how if you can simplify, you must simplify. So this 729 sitting out there can be simplified. And what you want to ideally do is turn it into something with base 9. Now remember, what is a logarithm? A logarithm is a number raised to a certain power gives you this value. So 9 raised to the 3rd power gives you 729. So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify. And instead of writing 729, we're going to write it so that our base and our value are the same. We make 9, instead of 729, we make 9 to the 3rd power. Now, the only thing that you can, really what you need to recognize is that 729 can be simplified. If you plug log 9 of 729 into those Inspired calculators, they will tell you that the answer is 3. So what you need to do is you need to recognize that I can simplify 729. My suggestion, if you got to figure, I could probably do something with this number, it just seems too big to leave alone. Just try plugging that into your calculator. Use guess and check. Okay, now, those of you who might be following along in the book or who plan to follow along in the book, to me, skips a couple of steps. And When I made this slide, I also skipped a couple of steps. But what we need to do is we need to simplify this. So I created two additional steps. So from step 3 to step 3a, look what I'm doing. I'm taking my exponent, I'm using the power property to move my exponent. So instead of log 9 of 9 to the third, I get 3 times the log 9 of 9. Now, you can call this step number 4 if you want, or you can call it step 3a. You'll see that when I move the blocking thing here, it just shows as step number 4. But really, there's 2 more steps that you need to be able to understand in order to get to this step. And the book, for some reason, omits them.
So we have to,
Well, we want to change it. We want to use the power property and get rid of the exponent, just like we did here
okay,
at the beginning of the problem.
so in step 3, we get rid of
Step
exponent?
3 is to rewrite 729 as 9 to the third power.
Right,
The next step, which I call 3a,
okay.
is to
get
use the power property and turn log 9 of 9 to the third power
as
into 3
three.
times the log 9 of 9.
Okay,
Okay?
so move it to the front basically?
What? That's right?
Um,
Yes, move it to the front.
the bottom, the 301, I don't know what that is.
I don't see a
Yeah,
301.
3B, the very last,
I'm getting to it.
uh,
Relax. Now, I've circled this because we're going to simplify this. Now, we've talked about what do you get when your base and your value are the same.
1.
You get 1. So I rewrite log 9 of 9 as 1. This is not 301. This is 3 times 1.
I get it. I don't know.
So simplify.
Right. Remember, this is multiplication. When we exponent, when we have a number raised to another power, that becomes multiplication. This is 3 times this, log 9 of 9. But we know that log 9 of 9 is 1. So this becomes 3 times 1. And that's where, those of you following along in the book, that's where the book just goes right from here to here without giving any explanation at all as to how it gets from here to here. Because you're asking yourself, 9 raised to what? Remember what a logarithm tells us. It tells us what the exponent is. So 9
Oh,
raised to what power is 9. And again,
Yeah.
all you got to do is put this in your calculator, in your Inspires. And actually, at the end of class, I'm going to show you, those of you who have scientific and graphing calculators at home, how you could solve this problem using those calculators. Because your graphing or your scientific only works log base 10. But we have a mechanism to convert base 10 to other bases to base 10. Okay, that's actually the answer. I can't simplify this any further.
Can you just plug this exact equation into your calculator?
This?
Yeah.
No, you can't
Because
plug
the
in.
x.
You can't plug in the ends. No, but you could plug in portions of it.
Right.
You could plug this in and get 3. You could plug this in and get 1. Yeah, we have a variable, you're not going to be able to use a calculator at all. It's not going to solve it. Because the calculator doesn't think. The calculator only does what you tell it to do. So it doesn't interpret what x is. It treats x as x. Okay, does anybody have any questions about this? Is there anybody not done copying?